All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me with my immune webinar. I really am glad to see everybody, missing everybody with these crazy times. We're making history here. I was telling my kids the other day, you'll look back on when it was COVID-19 and you'll be able to tell your kids about it and how interesting it is. But the keys to this webinar, what inspired me to do this webinar was that I wanted to give you some tools. So with all the media from the updates that I've received, the media is saying that this thing is going to start peaking within the next week or two. And so I wanted to give you guys some tools and some information to let you know how you can improve your immune system and what to do. So by no means, I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed or guilty. I just want you all to feel empowered and give you tools to use to feel better, right? Because we're all in this together. Let me make sure I can see. I don't know where my chat box went. All right. So disclaimer for this, if you are, I'm going to be recommending some supplements. If you are on a lot of pharmaceuticals or prescription drugs, it's really important that you guys check in with the doctor who prescribed it so that you don't have any interactions. So just keep that in mind. But what we will cover today is how to fortify your immunity. What does that look like? What to avoid, what supplements to take, and then we'll talk a little bit about how coping mechanisms, stress management techniques. Go from there. So question for you is, how are you guys coping? Everybody's different. I think everybody deals with it in a different way, but the main thing is to give yourself grace, because this is a crazy time and crazy times cause a lot of stress for everybody. This is, in a way, kind of like a grief process, because we have lost our freedom to go to restaurants. We've lost our freedom to hang out with people. Now we're not able to go everywhere we want to go. So note that there are stages of grief. So denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and it doesn't always have to go in that format. It can be different. I know initially I went kind of through a denial phase. Oh, this isn't real. This is kind of, I don't know how serious this is and whatnot. And then through the anger phase, where you just kind of irritable. I think all the kids were getting irritable with one another. So just kind of note it and give yourself grace as you go through it, because it is kind of a process. But the key is, I want you guys to observe yourself and give your grace to yourself, but observe yourself as you're coping with this. Are you coping in a way that is healthy to your body? Because every way that we're coping, is it healthy? Are you going and drinking alcohol? Are you coping with exercise? Are you talking to people? Are you isolating? Everybody deals with it differently. And obviously it's affecting your health. So during these times, the rates of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes will peak, unfortunately. And so if you could just become aware of how you're dealing with it and make a little bit of a change, one step at a time, it can really make a difference. So if you're kind of having a tendency to go in the kitchen and start eating, then maybe instead ask yourself, am I hungry or am I stressed out? And maybe go for a walk instead, call up a friend, wash your face, play some music, get out of the kitchen, get out of the house, kind of thing. Or if you're kind of like looking at the jelly beans at work and you're having a hard time avoiding them, then maybe like give them away or put them or cover them with a towel so that you can't see them. Do things to help yourself not be so tempted. Get it out of the house. Try not to have it there. So, yeah. So one step at a time. Give yourself grace. Don't feel guilty about it, but just be aware of it. I wanted to quickly introduce myself to those people that may not know me. I'm Dr. Michelle Dillon. I'm a naturopathic doctor. A naturopathic doctor is a doctor that's trained like a doctor, but instead of giving medication, it's really trying to find the root cause of the issue and then giving the body what it needs to heal itself. I've been in practice for 13 years now. I'm the owner and founder of Charlotte Natural Wellness. And this month we actually got our 100th 5-star review on Google, which is pretty cool. I'd like to say my tagline is helping tired moms since 2007. Because that's my passion is working with women just to help them feel better so that they can parent better. This is a picture of me and my family. Sounds awesome. All right, so let's get down to it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Ways to improve your immune system. Here are the ways, and if you've been patients of mine, you've heard this before, but this is what it's really gonna make a big difference. So avoiding sugar. So as Americans, we eat a ton of sugar. What foods do you guys see are high in sugar? You want to type it in your type box. What is your idea of what's high in sugar? I'm going to see if I can get to my chat box. Bear with me here. How did I get that? All right, that's not going to work. So the foods that are high in sugar are the obvious, like the junk foods. Oh, here it is. I found it. So processed foods, things that are high in sugar are anything that ends in OSE. So anything high in glucose. So you got donuts, you got crackers, anything that's a processed carbohydrate can turn into sugar as well. So those are the foods that you want to avoid. Typical Americans will eat at least 50 to 60 grams of sugar in a day, sometimes higher. Just one can of Coke has about 39 grams of sugar in it. So the reason why you want to avoid sugar is really important because one teaspoon, just one small teaspoon of sugar can deplete your immune system for up to 5 hours. So when you're feeling sick or when you're in a pandemic, you kind of want to avoid sugar. So there's something in the immune system called phagocytes, and they look like little Pac-Men. They go around engulfing bacteria and viruses in your system. And when you have just one teaspoon of sugar, this makes these phagocytes just kind of like stop and take a nap and not be functional. And so if you are exposed to somebody and you have had sugar in your system, then your natural defenses are kind of taking a nap, and that's exactly opposite of what you want. Your immunity is so much tied to your health. So if you're not sleeping well enough, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're working too much and you're not resting, if you don't have that balance, then you're going to have a lot of issues with your immune system. That's when your immune system starts to break down. I was just listening to Dr. Ben Lynch. He's a really good person to follow. He's also a naturopathic doctor. He's pretty well known in our profession. But he was saying that people that aren't faring well with the COVID-19 are those that are super depleted. So a lot of the medical staff, poor nurses that are working too long hours and they're not taking care of themselves, they're not getting much of a break, so they're not eating well. They're not sleeping, they're not drinking enough water. These are the people that are depleted, which aren't doing very well with COVID-19. So just something to keep in mind during this time. A lot of people I hear that they're staying up late, they're not getting a lot of sleep. I'm like, take this opportunity. We're home to rest and make sure you're having a balanced life. Go out and get some exercise. Let's see. So Samantha was asking, how about pasta? So anything that's high in carbs can break down into sugar. So anything that raises your blood sugar would be something that converts to sugar. Yeah, so you want to try to avoid that. So sticking to meat and veggies is key. Unless you're going out and you're running like several miles or you're very active on your home elliptical, you do need a little bit more carbs, but most people aren't doing that. So just to be careful with that. And then be sure you're taking care of yourself, doing something for self-care, whether it's going for a walk, doing some yoga, talking to a friend, journaling, just really important during this time. So more ways to, yeah, so we talked about, I kind of jumped ahead of myself, but get enough sleep, drink water. So the reason why drinking water is important is because when you drink water, you become hydrated. 70% of your body is made up of water. So if you're not drinking enough water, 70% of your body is pretty mad at you. Also, water helps keep your mucous membranes wet. And it's important that your mucous membranes in your nose and in the back of your throat remain moist, because those mucous membranes are what's going to trap the bacteria and the viruses that come through those orifices. And if you're dehydrated, those are all dried up. And so if you do breathe in a bacteria, then it will go straight into your system instead of getting stuck in that mucus. And then the studies are showing that exercise is really important, obviously, for good lymphatic circulation, which helps with the immunity. But too much exercise can be bad, and not enough exercise is bad. So too much exercise, the definition of that is if you're exercising and you feel it takes you multiple days to recuperate from that exercise, or you exercise and you feel completely depleted, then that exercise is a little too strenuous for you. And it's really important not to overwork your body during this time, because you want to remain strong. You want to keep your immune system strong. So some ways to help that doesn't help the immune system. One of the main things, so all my patients that were smokers, I emailed them specifically and said, look, smoking puts you at a higher risk for getting this COVID-19. Not only is smoking bad for your lungs, obviously, but it kills the little hair-like cells in your lungs, which help catch debris and control viruses. And when you smoke, that kind of like takes that away. Those cells go away. And so it increases your viral transmission. And so smokers will, if they do get the COVID-19, they won't do as well. And as a smoker, you're also depleted of selenium. And selenium, when you're depleted, that's one of the nutrients, the many nutrients. If you're depleted, it makes the viruses replicate more quickly. So super important to note that, and talk to people that you do know that smoke, and say, hey, a lot of people their incomes have slashed, and so this is the best time to quit smoking, right? Alcohol intake is also important. Obviously, I know it's a stressful time, so people do turn to alcohol. One thing that I wanted to point out is what I found is now the drinking limits have changed, where it used to be a little bit more for men, but now I think they made it the same. So 6 beers. So within a week, you should only have 6 beers or 6 glasses of wine, 14 glasses of 40% whiskey. I don't know. And they say try not to just do it all at once. Obviously, do it throughout the week. Obviously, the best thing is not to drink. But, during this time, some people are using that to cope. And I'll give you some more suggestions on what to use instead of alcohol otherwise. But yeah, alcohol is very depleting. It dehydrates your body. It depletes your body of B vitamins that are essential for the immune system. It affects your liver, which affects your ability to detoxify. So alcohol isn't great, but obviously it's helpful when those are really stressed. So supplements. So these are the supplements. Obviously, it was hard for me to pick and choose exactly what I wanted to tell you, because there's so many supplements out there that can be helpful during this time. But this is what I found from the podcast that I listened to and the research that I did that is the most defensive against the COVID-19. So what I can do is I can email this to you guys. I'm going to be recording this, so if you want to, you can get the recording and take this or whatnot. If you email me, I'm happy to send it to you too. Or you can just take a picture of the screen. Vitamin D is important. People that are depleted of vitamin D have more respiratory distress. If you're depleted of vitamin D, you have more of a chance for more of an issue for upper respiratory infection. And they're saying that vitamin D is more of a hormone now because it does so much. It's really important for mood, it's important for hormones, and obviously super important for immunity. I've had a variety of people say, yeah, I take vitamin D, but my vitamin D is always really low. And sometimes it can be low like that if you have internal infections or internal inflammation, as well as if you have a magnesium deficiency. So just a side note. When you do take vitamin D, it's really important that you take K2 with it. K2, it helps, what that does is that helps put the vitamin D where you want it. So you take vitamin D, another benefit is for strengthening your bones. And if you're not taking K2 with vitamin D, it can actually start calcifying your arteries, which you don't want. So always take vitamin D with K2. Vitamin C with bioflavonoids, really important. The research did show you get the most benefit if you take the vitamin C with bioflavonoids. So if you look on the label of something, you know it has bioflavonoids because it says it on the label. Bioflavonoids are just closer to a food source of vitamin C, so it just makes it absorb more. Elderberry, everybody knows elderberry. You know you have a good elderberry if you look on the label and it says how many micrograms of it or milligrams of it is in that product. If it doesn't say that, then you're not getting a high quality elderberry, or they're not even testing for the medicinal potency of it.
Stay away from her. No, you're not.
Okay. Elderberry is, some people have heard of a cytokine storm, something that has come out in the media with elderberry. The bottom line to that, just to clear up any confusion, is with elderberry, you just want to take it as you prevent sickness. Once you get sick, elderberry isn't as helpful because it can increase cytokines, which make you feel more sick. So I don't know. The bottom line, just take elderberry as a preventative. Once you get sick, don't take it. Don't take it as much. Curcumin. So the way that COVID-19 is affecting the lungs is that it's affecting something called ACE2. ACE2 is something, when it's high, is helpful for lung function and helps your lungs work well. How COVID-19 affects it is it depletes ACE2. So keep that in mind. When you have COVID, it depletes ACE2, which makes you not be able to breathe very well, not be able to absorb the oxygen. Curcumin and resveratrol, so number 4 and 5 on this list, help increase ACE2. So people that are taking curcumin and resveratrol will be protected and won't have as many issues if they do succumb to the COVID-19. So the important thing though, when it comes to curcumin and resveratrol, is that it's really important that you get a high quality amount. So if curcumin is the Latin or like another name for turmeric. So turmeric's like, oh, I have it in my spice count. I can just put that on everything I eat. Yeah, that's helpful, but if it's not emulsified, if you don't get it from a high quality company that's emulsifying it to make it help absorb it, then it's not going to be as effective. You want to get at least 300 milligrams of it. Biotics, a company called Biotics is what we use. Orthomolecular also has a great form, but curcumin, you want it emulsified. So that's super important. And resveratrol. So resveratrol, you may have heard, it is something that is found in wines. We're like, oh, goody gumdrops. Let me just drink all the wine I want. You'd have to drink gallons of it, which some people are like, hey, that's not a problem for me. But again, people, I'm just focused. Let's just talk about the supplement. So resveratrol, you want to get it in the liposomal form. So what does that mean? It's just a way, when it's in a liposomal form, it actually is more absorbable and more effective, and you get more of the benefit for it. So you want at least 250 milligrams of that. So for those of you that are aware, we do have all these in the office. So if you don't feel like looking for it, we can ship it to you. So to sum up, curcumin and resveratrol, super important for increasing that ACE2 compound. That's super important for your lungs. And that people that are depleted of ACE2 are those that don't do very well with COVID-19. So curcumin, resveratrol for those. Vitamin A, also very important for the immune system. Just note that those that are pregnant, you shouldn't do over 10,000 a day, because some people say that it can cause birth defects. Then I like to talk about glutathione and antioxidants. Zinc is really important. They're also saying people that are depleted of zinc don't fare well. If you look at your nails, if they're not painted, if you have any white spots on your nails, that's an indication that a couple things. So it's not always 100% accurate, because we're talking about your nails, people. If you bump your nails or I don't know, you can also get white spots, but white spots can be an indication of, one, you're eating too much sugar, and two, you're low in zinc. So just something to think about. Let's see, I have somebody. All right. Oops. Sorry. Technical issue here. It's going the wrong way. Okay. And melatonin. So melatonin is something that is an antioxidant. Also showing for people that it helps increase lung function, especially if you have an existing lung functional issue. So if you're a smoker, if you have other issues, melatonin can be really helpful for taking. The study I read was those that had COVID-19, if they started supplementing with melatonin, they fared better, because it helped improve that lung issue. So again, it's not an exhaustive list. It's a list that I think would, if you needed the bare minimum of what to take, I would start with this for sure. And I should have listed it in priority. I would probably put numbers 4 and 5 of curcumin and resveratrol up higher, because of that helps with the ACE2 component. So everybody always asks me, well, what food sources can I eat? And here are some. I didn't have time to do all of them, but vitamin C food sources. Did you know that kiwi has more vitamin C in it than an orange? So those are helpful to do. I know that the stores are a little having issues with stocking. So do what you can, one step at a time. Zinc is usually found in seafood, lentils, nuts, almonds, vitamin A, sweet potatoes, carrots, spinach. One thing that I didn't have enough time to make a slide for is the microbiome in your gut, the bacteria in your gut. You have good bacteria and bad bacteria. If you picture your gut as a garden, you always have your yummy vegetables, but then you always have these weeds that kind of creep in. Those weeds are kind of a representative of bad bacteria in your gut. And everybody has them. I've been doing more and more stool tests with people, and I've never seen a stool test without some bad bacteria in it, because everybody has it. A good way, 80% of your immune system comes from your microbiome, or the good bacteria in your gut. So a really good way to start incorporating and making your gut happy with happy good bacteria would be to add sauerkraut. So you do like a half a cup or a cup of sauerkraut to your meals every day, or every meal. Another thing is kimchi. If you've heard of kimchi, you like kimchi, that's helpful. It's really easy to make too. So if you can't get to it, you can always make it, and it doesn't take very much. The hardest part with sauerkraut and kimchi is like chopping up all that stinging cabbage. It can take a little bit of time. But yeah, and then the more I tell people, eat the rainbow, and I'm not talking Skittles, people. I'm talking eat your rainbow. Red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple. Because the more vibrant the colors, the more healthy you're getting, the more diversified. It's all good, and it increases your immune system. So continuing on, other ways to improve your immunity: limits the social media, the blue light devices. Try not to watch the news all the time, because it just makes you freaked out. Just get your update and then turn it off and go. Right. Make sure you're laughing. So many people, I'm like, hey, what are you guys watching? And what they're watching is all the stress murder mysteries, people dying, and I don't know. You should watch comedy and things that are lighthearted and things that make you laugh, because laughter actually helps improve the immune system. So the more that you laugh, the better. And then also there's research, when it's translated into forest bathing. And forest bathing is meaning that you just get into some green environment like the woods, or if you go out into a green environment, then that naturally helps to lower cortisol levels. And when cortisol levels are lower, then your immune system is able to function at its highest capacity. So get out there and look at the trees, climb a tree and stare at the limbs. I don't know, whichever works the best, right? But I think this is the time to really make clean eating a priority, which I've mentioned to my patients, and some people understand that, and I get it, guys. I know it's a stressful time, and so when you're stressed, you want to kind of lean to your comfort foods. But there's 83 research studies that I found that prove that eating a healthy diet improves your immune system. And you see it. People that eat healthier are healthier, because the food that you eat is actually assimilating into your body and becoming what you are. Do you want to be made out of Twinkies, or do you want to be made out of like a vibrant colored red pepper, right? So make sure you're, just make a goal. Start with one meal a day and say, hey, for one meal a day, I'm going to eat healthy. And then if you get to one meal a day, then let's say, hey, let's try 2 meals a day. So for ideas would be just make sure there's a vegetable with each meal. If you're already doing that, try to do 2 vegetables with each meal. And then when you do a snack, try to have a snack that's a vegetable. And then try to make your plate like a art form. So it has all the varieties of the colors. Try not to have a monotone plate where everything's brown and white. Make sure it's just vibrant colors. Community is so important too. So just trying to reach out to people, do some Zoom calls, do some FaceTime, because we are so isolated right now. It's important to feel that you have a community, and use that community for accountability. So a lot of people are struggling with emotional eating. So you may just ask a friend to keep you accountable, start writing down what you eat, tell somebody what your goals are, go for a walk instead of going into the kitchen. And then give yourself grace, because I know everybody's trying to cope in a different way. So acknowledge that and just keep going. So I wanted to talk about some stress relieving techniques. I think it's important to realize that the breath in your body is what's oxygenating your lungs and your organs. So noting how you're breathing and focusing on that. So a good, easy stress relief technique would be if you place one hand on your chest and one hand over your belly button and breathe for a little bit. And note which hand is moving. Is it the hand over your chest or the hand over your belly button? So usually when you're talking, you're hanging out with people, usually it's the hand over your chest. But you want to breathe from your diaphragm, which is the hand over your belly button. And so an easy technique would be to breathe in for a count of 5 to start with. So let's all breathe in, ready? And hold it for a couple seconds, and then breathe out for a count of 5. All right, and then the next time, try to get to a count of 6. So ready, let's breathe in. Hold it for 2 seconds, and let's breathe out for a count of 6. And then we can continue to do this until we get to a count of 7, all the way to a count of 10. Try to get to a count of 20. And in doing this, you're so focused on your breath and counting that you forget all about everything else, which is the key, right? So that's just an easy breathing technique to kind of work it. Other options for sweets, I don't know. I think this got a little shuffled, but enjoy some fruit instead of alcohol. Try the kombucha and herbal teas like chamomile or kava, valerian, passion fruit, even some CBD. With the CBD, quick note, the research I did, the easy over the counter, which is the purest form that I found, the company that I highly trust is CBD MD, because I was impressed with them. So if you needed CBD for anxiety, that's helpful. My visualization, so when I need to go to my happy place, I go mind kayaking. So don't think I'm crazy, but I want to know what your happy place is. What is y'all's happy place? You guys want to use your chat box? Or my happy place is kayaking. So what I do is, this is a picture of the place, the most beautiful place that I've ever gone kayaking in my life. Was in Florida, it was northern Florida. We went to see one of my husband's friends in northern Florida. Oh, that's when we went for Thanksgiving last year. We went camping and we went kayaking, and it was beautiful. It was in a spring, and it was overlooking trees and birds, and everything was in bloom, and the water was clear. And my son was in the front here. It was just like wonderful. It was like a whole, I think there were 6 or 7 of us all kayaking. And so I just closed my eyes and I picture the paddle going through the water and making like all these little swirls in the water, and then looking down and seeing like the fish, and feel the warmth of on my face, and looking at the trees and the grass and listening to the birds. So you can go anywhere. Yeah. So I'm looking at the chat box now. It looks like bird watching. Some people like bird watching. Pretend that you're on a beach in Hawaii. Yes, ma'am. That's awesome. Walking in nature. You can take yourself anywhere in your mind. And that just helps take yourself away from where you currently are and go there for a while. My other happy place is playing my ukulele in my closet with the door shut, right? And it's just fun to listen to music and sing, because actually singing actually helps switch from a stress mode so you have 2 gears to your nervous system. You have stress mode and you have relaxation mode. Stress mode is turned on, obviously, when you're stressed and you're in a pandemic, right? Relaxation mode, the ways that you get back into relaxation mode or parasympathetic is singing. Singing automatically puts you into a parasympathetic gear, which is pretty cool. Other ways is the visualization and the breathing. But yeah, so get your singing on, put on the music real loud and get going with it, because that'll help. I know everybody has their own beliefs, but I believe in prayer and scripture. See, these are some of the scripture verses that I love. God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, might, and sound mind. And I just, everybody has their thing, but I would say, scripture and prayer has been helpful for me and my family. So now I'm going to open it up for question and answer. I wanted to offer anybody interested, for the month of April, we're offering $50 off our new patient appointments. We are doing virtual appointments, but it's very similar to what you guys are doing now. I'm also in the process of forming some online groups. I've had some interest in some hormonal balancing group. If you're interested in that at all, be sure I have your email, and I will email you it in the next couple of weeks when I have it ready. We are offering free 15-minute phone consultations for those who are interested. So let me see what questions everybody has, and we can go from there. While I wait for questions, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this or not, but I am going to play the ukulele for you guys. So ready? Here's a little song I wrote. I want to sing it note for note, so don't worry. Be healthy. Every night we have some trouble. When we work, we make it double, don't worry. something now. All right. Any other questions? Could you guys hear that? I don't even know. All right. So let me see. So ACE2 is complicated. ACE2 is a component in the lungs that helps you take the oxygen that you breathe and use it to oxygenize your organs. So, yeah, so that's what ACE2 is. Could you guys hear when I was playing? I don't know if the microphone picked it up. Yeah, okay, good. Another question was, I'm a patient with exercise-induced asthma. What supplements do you recommend?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was, and then she said another thing, so I was trying to gather. Okay.
Oops. Okay.
Lo siento. Lo
Somebody's not muted.
siento. Nothing new.
All right. Other questions you guys have? With the exercise-induced